What's up, fam? It's me. I'm back. And we got some things we need to talk about. We got some serious stuff we need to talk about. So first, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's being smart. I hope everybody's paying attention. And I hope everybody is either on code or getting on code. I hope everybody has been paying attention to and watching the videos that we've posted on the channel since I've been back. We started yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. I started this new mini series of videos that I want to do, talking about white supremacy, breaking white supremacy down, defining it, explaining it, making sure that we have a real understanding of white supremacy, of what white supremacy is as a global power structure, as a global power system that affects the lives of people in the 9 areas of human activity. And those 9 areas of human activity are economics, labor, law, politics, war, sex, religion, education, and I threw medical in there just for my own purposes. But that's in the video that was posted just yesterday, and that's the one that's entitled White Supremacy 1, Part 1. So today I want to move on and I want to talk about white supremacy, but this is not the part 2 that I intended to do, but this ties into white supremacy. It ties into this whole power structure. It ties into all of that. And before we get started, I would also urge you to go to Tariq Nasheed's page, his YouTube channel, Tariq Radio, so that you can see the trailer for Buck Breaking. Yes, he has put out the trailer for Buck Breaking. It is dynamic. I can't wait. He's talking about it coming out in sometime in April, maybe a little bit sooner, but definitely sometime in April of this year. So I would suggest that you get on over there to Tariq Radio and you catch that trailer of Buck Breaking. And I'll have a link to it in the description box of this video. But let's talk about, let's continue our conversation as we continue to break down white supremacy so that we can understand white supremacy for what it is. That is a global system of power. And its main purpose its original purpose, its main purpose is to protect whiteness. As Dr. Francis Quest Welsing told us, so-called white folks, the dominant society, they are concerned about genetic annihilation. They are concerned about the destruction, the complete and total destruction and annihilation of their genetics, because they are genetically recessive. Whereas all non-white folks, all folks with some form of melanin are dominant. They are not genetically recessive. They are genetically dominant. So the main tenet, the main purpose of white supremacy, of establishing this system of power that affects other people's, every form of activity for other people, is to protect whiteness. And to protect these so-called white-skinned people from genetic annihilation. So it's all about survival. At the end of the day, it's about survival. Yeah, some other stuff ended up getting thrown in there. Some other stuff ended up getting mixed up in there. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is it's all about survival. And it's all about them being able to survive enough to maintain power, to maintain dominance. Okay? Now, let's talk about white supremacy and power. Let's talk about white supremacy because we've already discussed in the last video how they don't so much mind being a minority. Because we already know, it's already been told that by 2040 in this country, So-called white folks, so-called white-skinned folks will be the minority. And the majority of people will be people of color. Now, maybe not quote-unquote black folks, but people that have melanin. But again, the dominant society is not so concerned about ruling as a minority, because they've been ruling as a minority for at least 1,000 years. They've been ruling as a minority. They ruled Africa as a minority. They have ruled the North American continent as a minority. They have ruled the South American continent as a minority. They have ruled the globe as a minority. So they're not so concerned about ruling as a minority. They just want to make sure that they keep ruling, that they keep being the ones in power. So everything that they do, every plot, every plan, every scheme, every agenda, everything that they do is for the purpose of maintaining power, maintaining that power structure that is white supremacy. Everything that they do. That is the reason behind, that is the main reason behind everything that they do, every decision that they make, every move that they make, whether it's political, whether it's as far as war is concerned, whether as far as the economy is concerned, or whatever. Every move that they make is based on maintaining that power structure and making sure that they keep the dominance, that they continue to be the dominant society. They don't have to be the majority society. They just have to be the ones that are in control, the ones that are in power. Now, remember, we talked about the white supremacists, and we read the article from Washington Post where they were talking about the FBI and the Justice Department act like they don't know how they're going to charge these people, and they so concerned about overwhelming the courts with all of these cases and all of this. These white supremacists and these different white supremacist organizations and groups and all of that stormed the Capitol January the 6th. And we talked about how, you know, now they're trying to be, well, this is what white supremacy does. White supremacy goes out and picks a fight. You understand what I'm saying? And then when it gets its tail kicked, then it slinks back and it tries to play the victim. So all of these white supremacists now are going to try to play the victim. And they're going to act like, oh, bad Trump. You know, they believe Trump. They listen to Trump and all of that. And they are Trump's victims. They are the victims of Trump's rhetoric, of Trump's lies and all of that. Okay? So we've already established that. We've already established that that because they're not sure of exactly how the Biden administration is going to function, exactly how the Biden administration is going to operate within the tenets of white supremacy, because we already know that right-wing white supremacy believes in being overt, out in the open, just, you know, here it is, take it for what it is, and all that. But we know that the left wing of white supremacy tends to want to keep things in the shadows and tends to want to hide white supremacy. It wants to do its dirt covertly, undercover. And we've already started to see that in just these few short 4 or 5 days of Biden's administration. How he's already trying to hide white supremacy. How he's already trying to put a smile and a black face on white supremacy. How he's already trying to push it back into the shadows. You understand what I'm saying? And trying to lure black folks back to sleep. Trying to lure black folks back into this false sense of security, this false sense of safety, this false sense of everything is okay, and trying to get us back to that bullshit that Obama tried to tell us when he tried to make us believe that we were living in a post-racial society. Look at the inauguration. Look at the inauguration. Look at the little black woman, the little young black girl when she's 22 years old, that they had up there doing that poem and all of that, and all of this marching bands and all of this, you know, everybody talking about Michelle Obama's has laid and you know, and just trying to make it out like it was just one big old plantation celebration. You understand what I'm saying? And the niggas is satisfied on the plantation. You know, old bad Trump is gone now. White supremacy is gone now. So we don't have to worry anymore. We can relax. You understand what I'm saying? We can get back. All the symbolism that liberals and Democrats have always used to make black folks think that everything is okay. We're your friends. See, the symbolism. Well, on day one in office, he signs 6 executive orders that have to do with immigrants. He signed 16 that had to do with COVID-19. He signed only 2 that had to do with the economy. He signed a couple of them that had to do with this so-called equity that it didn't have anything to do with black folks. So with these 30 actions, and we talked about this, with these 30 actions that he performed within the first 3 days he was in office, none of it had to do with a black agenda. None of it had to do with black folks. None of it had to do with us receiving any tangibles. But he talking about stuff for LGBT and he talking about the stuff for the immigrants and talking about the stuff for everybody else, but nothing that had anything to do with us. Why? Because he's already offered us all we're going to get, and that's symbolism, poems. Poems that are supposed to make us feel good, and poems that we're supposed to look at as tangible because it was supposedly written, you understand what I'm saying, and read by a black woman. Symbolism, empty gestures with no substance whatsoever. And all of that COVID stuff that he did, January the 21st and January the 22nd, with all of that COVID stuff he did, even though they have been screaming now for almost a year that this so-called 19 is affecting black folks more than it is anybody else, with all of that COVID relief stuff that he did, none of it was directed at the black community. None of it was directed at helping us financially and economically if we're the group of people that's being affected by this more than anybody else. White supremacy. See, white supremacy is Biden is making sure to put that face, that smile, that cover over white supremacy, so that black folks will go back to believing that everything is okay. So black folks will go back to believing, okay, like I said, bad man Trump is gone, everything is going to be okay. Symbolism. Why? Because white supremacy had been exposed. And like I said, white supremacy had took several L's in the last year and a half, 2 years. So it was time for the Democrats to come in, the liberals to come in, and put the cover back over white supremacy. Put that smiling face, you understand what I'm saying? And those empty gestures back over white supremacy. While they actually use policy to practice white supremacy. Not talking points, not somebody standing up talking a whole bunch of old nonsense like Trump did, you understand what I'm saying? But actual policies to express their white supremacy. Now, because see, that's how white supremacy has to stay in power. See, white supremacy was taking too many L's. It was being hit too hard. It was being exposed. You had too many folks other than foundational black Americans pointing to white supremacy, talking about white supremacy, calling out white supremacy. See, it's one thing when we talk about it. We've been talking about it for years. We've been talking about it for hundreds of years over here. So it's one thing when we talk about it. They can shush us, they can push us to the side or whatever the case may be, and act like we just don't know what we talking about, or we just over embellishing, or we playing the race card. You understand what I'm saying? Or we just always like to be victims or whatever. But when you get other groups, when you get white folks from the dominant society talking about white supremacy, talking about something needs to be done about white supremacy, and white supremacy taking L after L after L, you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, it was time for somebody to come in and put the cover back on white supremacy and calm those black folks down. Calm them down. Because now everybody else is in an uproar. Now you actually got white supremacists showing themselves in a way that they haven't shown themselves in a few years. In quite a few years, you got white supremacists showing themselves by storming the Capitol building and attempting to take over the government. So yeah, it was time to calm things down. It's time to calm things down, because see, now the black folks have got everybody else in an uproar. They been in an uproar. But as long as it was just them niggas in the uproar, you understand what I'm saying? It was okay. We know, you know, we'll figure out some kind of way to hush them up, or we'll figure out some kind of distraction or whatever to distract everybody's attention from what they talking about and all of that. But because the new black media won't hush, the new black media won't shut up, the new black media won't just go along to get along, and then on top of that, you got white supremacy out showing itself, just walking the street naked. That's how white supremacy has done under Trump. It's just thrown off everything, and it's just walking the street buck ball naked. Why? Because white supremacy feels threatened. It feels like there is actually a possibility that it could lose power. There's actually the possibility that as a system, it could be destroyed and replaced with something else. So we got to hurry up and usher in another 4 years, another 4 years of covert, undercover white supremacy. So that Trump and everything that was exposed under Trump and everything that was exposed during the 4 years of Trump, so that we can kind of hurry up and get folks to forget about that. So here comes Biden with all of this symbolism. And I didn't watch the inauguration. And I didn't listen to the poem until last night when Jason actually broke down the actual poem. We listened to the whole thing and he actually broke down the poem almost line for line. I'll have that video listed in the description box as well, so that you can go listen to that, and so that you can see this picture of this young black woman with all of this canary yellow on and this red band around the top of her braids. And she looked to me, I don't know what it was about it that just represented China, that just represented Chinese to me. And that's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that she was dressed like that. And see, white supremacy hasn't been in fear of losing power, or at least losing some of its power, since the Civil War. That was the whole point of the Civil War. The point of the Civil War was not to free some slaves. That was not the point of the Civil War. The point of the Civil War was, okay, the South wanted to run things the way they was running things. They're making all of this money off of slavery. The North was like, well, you got to get rid of them slaves because you're throwing the economy off balance. You're just doing too much down there with them slaves. You're going to have to get rid of them, or you're going to have to share the wealth, and you're going to do something. And the South was like, no, we ain't got to do nothing. This is how we going to live. This is how we going to run things, and it ain't nothing that you can do about it. So they decided, okay, since you determined that you're going to tell us how we going to live, how we going to make our money, what we going to do with our slaves, we're getting ready to leave your union. That's what the Civil War was about. The Civil War was about who gonna run white supremacy, who gonna be in control. So now, again, we got Biden and the Biden administration. His job is for the next 4 years to do all of this symbolic stuff as far as foundational black Americans, as far as black folks are concerned, to do all of this symbolic empty stuff to not only get black folks not back to not thinking about white supremacy, not talking about white supremacy, you know, not being active in the streets and protesting and all of that, but to also get white folks not to thinking about it, because Donald Trump had white folks thinking about it and talking about it. So this is his next symbolic gesture. You know, he done thrown out a few symbolic jobs. You understand what I'm saying? That didn't have anything to do with black folks as a collective. That had anything to do with black folks as a whole. You know, it only benefited whoever got the job. So he's thrown out a bunch of, you know, a few little symbolic jobs to these black puppets and all of that. You know, he had this little black mammy in training up there with that poem that wasn't that good, and it didn't sound like a poem that anybody black had written, especially not considering the fact she's supposed to be this black activist or whatever. So, and you know, and Kamala Harris was there for symbolism. Symbolism. You got Obama and Michelle Obama there for symbolism, and all of this. So that was, you know, that was the beginning of his symbolism. But now let's move on to his next act of symbolism. Empty symbolism. That don't mean a thing. It's not tangible. It's not putting any money in anybody's pocket. It's not helping the black community financially. It's not helping us economically. It's not helping to protect us in the streets where we're being murdered and being killed in the streets and in our homes by these race soldiers. It's not helping black folks at all. It's not a part of any kind of black agenda that you have heard anybody black say anything about. But this is his next act of symbolism. Biden moving forward with placing Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. That's his next act of symbolism. Now, the symbolism that he's already put out there, you already got these black folks, some of them, especially these boule black folks, and all of you already, and you know, what they call what's the name? Them call them the civil rights retreads. That's what Professor Black Truth call them. You know, and you already got some black folks just, you know, just celebrating and just so happy and just carrying on about this little black girl saying this poem and talking about pearls and them Converse shoes and how Michelle Obama's weave looked and all of this kind of stuff. So they'll really buy into this symbolism as well. Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. Now, please explain to me how Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill is a part of a black agenda. Please explain to me what Harriet Tubman's picture being on the front of a $20 bill is going to do for us economically. How is that going to help us financially? How is that going to help to start causing a shrink in that wealth gap between black folks and white folks? How is that going to help black folks with ownership? How is that going to help black folks in black small businesses? How is that going to help us as far as education is concerned? How is that going to help us as far as the poor medical treatment that black folks get? How is Harriet Tubman's picture on the face of a $20 bill going to punish the race soldiers and all the white supremacists that just kill us whenever they get ready to and don't have to worry about any punishment? So please tell me what Harriet Tubman's face on the front of a $20 bill is supposed to do for the black community. How is that a tangible? How is that going to translate into dollars in your pocket or money in your bank account? Or money to help you start a business or maintain your business? Is holding that $20 bill up with Harriet Tubman's face on it gonna keep some race soldier from shooting you to death in the street because he claimed he feared for his life? And you were unarmed and he did not catch you in the commission of any crime. So based on America's own legal system, everybody that these race soldiers, everybody that these white police officers has killed so far since Trayvon Martin, well, we know George Zimmerman did that, but he was acting as security, remember? He was acting as so-called security for the homeowners association or whatever. So none of these black folks that have died at the hands of these race soldiers that have been murdered by these race soldiers, none of them were caught in the commission of a crime. I don't care what somebody said they had done or they was about to do or whatever the case may be. None of them, when they were actually murdered, were killed while they were in the commission of a crime. And based on the United States, based on this justice system and based on the legal system in the United States, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So therefore, all of those folks were innocent. Because none of them had been to court. None of them had been tried. None of them had been convicted by a jury of their own peers. So according to the United States standard, according to this own system's standard, every last one of those folks were innocent. So is holding up that $20 bill with Harriet Tubman's face on it gonna keep some race soldier from blowing your brains out? Is wearing that $20 bill with Harriet Tubman's face on it strapped on your back gonna keep you from being a target? More symbolism, more empty symbolism. You can put a black woman's face on your money. You understand what I'm saying? But you can't give a black woman who is a descendant of American slavery the reparations that you owe her. And see, all of this with black women, because we've already talked about this. It's fine for Harriet Tubman to be on the bill, but I still believe a black man should be there first. Now, I still believe that. We've already had that conversation. I still believe that it should be, if they're going to do it, that it should be a black man first. But see, this is just some more pandering to black women, because they got black women. I mean, these black women are so hyped up on the Kool-Aid. These black women done drunk so much of the Kool-Aid until most of their minds are just gone. Just gone. They have bought into the bullshit hook, line, and sinker. That black girl magic bullshit. That bullshit about the black woman is the backbone of the Democratic Party and all of that foolishness. So here again is is some more empty symbolism for black women. Because black women been gobbling up. They've been eating it up like it's 100 pounds of beluga caviar. They've been eating up the symbolism and the bullshit. When nothing else, when everything else fails, white supremacy knows that it can fall back to its old playbook when it deals with black folks. When it deals with most black folks. And every move that Biden has made so far has been right in step with the playbook. All of this symbolism, all of this empty symbolism. And he's making a black woman the face of all of it. It was a black woman standing there, the face of the inauguration, doing this little poem. Now he want to talk about putting a black woman's face on the $20 bill. It was black women who were supposed to be the ones who had voted for Biden and just guaranteed that he got elected. Stacey Abrams was a black woman that had just worked so hard to make sure that she got out black folks to vote and all of that. Just keeps on using a black woman to be the face of all of this symbolism, all of this empty bullshit. But when it's time to sit down and actually do something real, when it's time to sit down and actually pass out some benefits, when it's time to sit down and actually pass out some protections, when it's time to sit down and actually pass out some tangibles, the black woman ain't nowhere to be found. The black woman ain't nowhere to be found. Nowhere. Not now executive order, not now agency directive, not now presidential memorandum. In those first 30 days, those first 3 days that he did all of that signing, nothing had anything to do with black women. Nothing. I'll use you to be the face of this. I'll use you to be the face of that. I'll use you to get this done for me. I'll use you to get folks out to vote for me. That Letitia, I can't remember her last name. I got to get that woman's name. But it's that Letitia. Let me find this woman's name, because I keep talking about her and I can't come up with her name. She Black Votes Matter. Yeah, Latasha Brown. That's her name, Latasha Brown. Down there feeding folks collard greens and black-eyed peas and cornbread. See, I can use these black women, all of these black mayors they got all over the place. Keisha Lance Bottoms, London Breed, Lori Lightfoot, Marion Bowser. Up there in D.C., all of these black women that are mayors of all of these different cities. You, Renee Hall, and a few other black women who are chief of police. See, I can use these black women faces to promote my agenda, to help push my agenda. You understand what I'm saying? To help fool other black folks and keep other black folks in line and keep other black folks voting for the status quo and voting for nothing. But when it comes down to me signing some stuff, when it comes down to me putting my name on some stuff, when it comes down to me putting my name on some tangibles, when it comes down to me putting my name on some benefits and some protections, I'm not going to do that for black women. I'm not going to do that for black folks, period. unless they immigrants. We just read it. We just read it last night when we talked about Frances Cress Welsing's definition of racism, white supremacy. And she talks about their use of symbols. They are into symbolism. They are into symbols. And they know that they can get us with symbolism. Well, not all of us, but they know they can get the majority of us with symbolism. And why would Biden specifically go back to talking about moving forward with Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill? Because Trump delayed it. That's why. That's why, because Trump delayed it. You see, you have to understand, every bit of symbolism that Biden participates in, it has to be something that was directly against something that Trump did. Why? Because Biden is trying to prove to everybody, oh, I'm not racist. Trump was the racist. You got to remember, that was the platform that Biden ran on. I'm not Trump. Biden moving forward with placing Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. The Trump administration said in 2019 that the new bill would be delayed for years because of technical issues. So that's the only reason why Biden chose that particular issue to decide that he was going to move forward with. Now, he said nothing about moving forward with reparations. He said nothing about moving forward with punishing the police for killing innocent, unarmed black folks in the street. He said nothing about moving forward with defund the police. As a matter of fact, he made it perfectly clear that he don't go along with that. Not only does he not go along with defunding the police, he talking about giving them $300 million more. But with the urgency of what we as black people deal with every day in the streets of America, especially concerning the criminal justice system and concerning police brutality and police murdering black folks and all this, this is what Biden decides that he's going to move forward on. And like I said, the only reason why he chose this was because of Trump's action as far as this was concerned. So anybody stupid enough to buy into all this symbolism, all of this empty nonsense, but I just wanted to show you. I just wanted to show you how Biden is determined that he's going to put the cover back over white supremacy. He's going to send white supremacy back to the shadows. Now, he's not going to fight against white supremacy. Again, you have not heard Biden or Kamala say anything about waging a war on white supremacy. They done waged wars on crime. They done waged wars on drugs. They done waged wars on terrorism. They done waged wars on everything. They supposed to be waging war on 19 and all this. But you ain't heard nobody say a word about waging a war on white supremacy. But we're going to put Harriet Tubman's face on a $20 bill, and hopefully that'll calm you niggas down. Hopefully that'll satisfy you niggas. Hopefully that'll make you niggas feel like you getting a little something, something. It ain't going to be nothing tangible. It ain't going to be nothing that you can really use. It ain't going to be nothing that's going to help you out in any kind of way. But we'll throw you a piece of a bone. This ain't even a whole bone. We'll throw you a piece of a bone. See, this is how white supremacy operates. You didn't stop dealing with white supremacy when you stopped dealing with Trump. You just dealing with the other side of white supremacy. You just dealing with the dark side of white supremacy when you dealing with liberals and Democrats. When you were dealing with Trump, you were dealing with the light side of white supremacy. Why do I call it the light side? Because it was all out there in the open. Broad open daylight. It was all out there in the open. This is white supremacy doing what it needs to do to maintain power and to protect whiteness. Now, one more story I want to talk about right quick, and this ties in with white supremacy as well. And for those of you who listen to me and you also listen to Tariq, you'll know that Tariq Nasheed talked about this. That Tariq Nasheed actually did a whole broadcast talking about robots, and he's been real big talking about robots and how they're using robots and how they're going to start using robots and how they're going to start using robots in law enforcement, how they sent a robot in to get Michael Johnson and all of this, and transhumanism and all of that. Tariq got deep into all of that. Well, those of you who I told to go to Dr. Boyce Watkins' channel and listen to that broadcast that he did with those other black panelists. The lady by the name of Zakiya. I think it's Zakiya. I think that was her name. And she talks about how we're moving into what they call the fourth industrial revolution, how she talks about all the automation and how black folks had better be prepared for all of this automation, how we better be prepared for all of this new technology, this AI stuff and all of this. And I'm going to show you how it ties into white supremacy. Because see, these white folks are determined that just because we the minority don't mean we're going to give up power. We're going to rule one way or the other. Even if we have to do it through machines. Even if we have to do it through immigrants that have aligned themselves with white supremacy. No matter how we do it, we are going to continue to rule even if we are the minority. Now I want y'all to listen to this and get a load of this. This is from Reuters. This was January 24th, 2020. The Great Reboot by Michelle Hennessy. Makers of Sophie the Robot plan mass rollout amid pandemic. Now y'all remember Sophie. Sophie is the one that they revealed in 2016. Sophie supposedly went on a date with Will Smith. Sophie, everything, all the videos and everything about Sophie went viral and all of this. Yeah, Sophie the Robot, right? Okay, let's read this. Makers of Sophie the Robot plan mass rollout amid pandemic. And I'll have this listed in the description box so that you can hear the video and hear the makers of Sophie and all of this kind of stuff talking and all of that. But I just want to read some of this to you. This is coming out of Hong Kong. Social robots like me can take care of the sick or elderly, Sophie says as she conducts a tour of her lab in Hong Kong. I can help communicate, give therapy, and provide social stimulation even in difficult situations. So they're talking about rolling out these robots to actually be kind of like robotic aids to elderly people and sick people. Okay? Since being unveiled in 2016, Sophie, a humanoid robot, has gone viral. Now the company behind her has a new vision: to mass produce robots by the end of the year. By the end of this year, by the end of 2021, they want to be mass producing these robots. These humanoid robots. Hanson Robotics, based in Hong Kong, said 4 models, including Sophie, would start rolling out of factories in the first half of 2021. So you see the reason for all the distractions. On one hand, you got Kate's over here buying up all this farmland, all of this prime farmland. And then over here behind the scenes, you got these folks that have gotten so far in the process that they are now talking about mass producing these robots. This is what's been going on behind the scenes. That's the reason why we have to be careful of the distractions. This is what white supremacy has been up to. Just as researchers predict the pandemic will open new opportunities for the robotics industry, the world of COVID-19 is going to need more and more automation to keep people safe. Now, if we're getting all of these robots, now these robots going to put people out of work. All the folks that were doing the jobs of being like home aid workers and CNAs and all of this kind of stuff, and sitters and all of this kind of thing. Well, now they gonna want robots to do that. Because you don't have to pay a robot. You ain't got to pay them. You ain't got to feed them. You ain't got to worry about no health insurance for them. You ain't got to worry about doing no taxes for them. Okay? Founder and Chief Executive David Hanson said, standing surrounded by robot heads in his lab. And I want y'all to notice when you see this dude, when you go to this article and watch this video, I want you to notice this dude. And I want you to notice that the dude himself act like he a robot. His movements, the way he pauses in his speech and all of that, he acts himself like he might be a robot. But anyway, let's keep going. Hanson believes robotic solutions to the pandemic are not limited to healthcare, but could assist customers in industries such as retail and airlines too. So they are about to make the American worker, the human being, obsolete in these jobs. In these jobs that they feel like robots can fill. These positions that they feel like robots can fill. Not just in healthcare, but in other areas as well. In other industries as well. Sophie and Hanson robots are unique by being so human-like. Human-like, he said. That can be so useful during these times where people are terribly lonely and socially isolated. Looked like 19 came around at just the right time. 19 showed up at just the right time, didn't it? Hanson said he aims to sell thousands of robots in 2021, both large and small, without providing a specific number. Social robotics professor John Hearn, whose research has included work with Sophie, said that although the technology is still in relative infancy, the pandemic could accelerate a relationship between humans and robots. Sounds a whole lot like transhumanism to me. I can infer the pandemic will actually help us get robots earlier in the market because people start to realize that there is no other way. So see, if you got folk talking about We need robots because of the pandemic. You understand what I'm saying? And there is no other way. And the world of COVID-19 is going to make automation more and more necessary to keep people safe. Don't sound like nobody has any real plans of doing anything to really get rid of the 19. Because the 19, surprisingly, is opening up all of these other opportunities. I wonder if that could explain why you got to take so many doses of the vaccine for it to do you any good. 1 or 2 shots just ain't gonna do it. You can't get immunity. This is what they're saying now. This is what the scientists and the doctors and the pharmaceuticals are saying now. It's just that 1 or 2 shots, 1 or 2 or 3 shots is just not gonna give you the immunity that you need from the immunization. So you're gonna have to get several shots over a period of time. COVID is here to stay, y'all. Or at least what they're saying is 19 is here to stay. Okay? I can infer the pandemic will actually help us get robots earlier in the market because people start to realize that there is no other way. So human to human interaction is just by listening to this, and I'm just reporting the news. I'm just reading this article, but to listen to this, human to human interaction is almost about to be over. Hanson Robotics is launching a robot this year called Grace, developed for the healthcare sector. Products from other big players in the industry are helping fight the pandemic as well. See, all this is to fight the pandemic. SoftBank Robotics' Pepper robot was deployed to detect people who weren't wearing masks. So now we have these robots, like Tariq said, with the ability to tell whether somebody has on a mask or not. What else would they have the ability to do? In China, robotics company Cloud Minds helped set up a robot-run field hospital during the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan. So they had a field hospital that was run completely by robots. The use of robots was on the rise before the pandemic. According to a report by the International Federation of Robotics, worldwide sales of professional service robots had already jumped 32% to 11.2 billion between 2018 and 2019. Some humans might be wary of putting robots in such sensitive roles. Some humans. Okay, wow. Wow. Did y'all hear the way that sound? Some humans. And some humans might be wary of putting robots in such sensitive roles. When asked whether people should fear robots, Sophia had an answer ready. Someone said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself," the robot mused. What did he know? And that's it. That's the end of that article. That's the end of that article. So if they've gotten this far, you understand what I'm saying? To the point where they're already ready to roll them out in mass production. You understand what I'm saying? To where they're claiming that the sales for professional service robots has risen 32% to 11.2 billion between 2018 and 2019. How far have they really gone with AI? And what will we really be getting when we get these robots? Do y'all remember the movie that Will Smith did, I, Robot? And y'all remember the scene where Will and the little girl were under the water and they were trapped in the car, and the robot showed up, and the robot was able to determine whose life needed to be saved based on their importance. And the robot chose Will because Will was a police officer. Come on now. Will was a police officer. So the robot chose Will to save his life over the life of the little girl. And remember, that was something that Will was having in the movie. That was something that Will was having a real hard time accepting and dealing with, because he kept insisting that the robot saved the little girl and not him. But the robot, because of its technology and because of its AI and because of all of that, the robot could tell who supposedly was supposed to be the most important and whose life really needed to be saved. The police officer, of course, over the innocent young child. What does that tell you about white supremacy? So now they're going to do whatever they need to do to maintain power. It's not about numbers. It's not about being the majority. It's about dominating. It's about making sure that no matter what the number is, they maintain the power. That they continue to be in control of the power structure. And they make sure that white supremacy is that power structure. And for all of you who didn't see Tariq's broadcast, when he talked about transhumanism, I'm going to make sure to have that one linked in the description box as well. Because you definitely need to go listen to that, because it'll make this make a whole lot more sense. So see, while we got Joe Biden throwing symbolism at us, empty symbolism that means absolutely nothing, helps us in no kind of way, this is what the power that be. I'm not going to say the powers that be, because there's only one power, and that's white supremacy. This is what the power that be has been doing behind the scenes. To the point where it has advanced so much that they're talking about mass production. They talking about rolling robots out like they roll out cars. And they talking about these robots being the ones that are going to interact with your folk. Maybe in these nursing homes, maybe in the hospitals, interact with the elderly, maybe in these hospitals with your folk that's sick and so-called because of 19, you can't visit your folk and you can't be there with them. This may be who is there with them, a robot. And you don't know what that robot has actually been programmed to do. These robots might start being the folks that take your money when you go shopping, when you go to the grocery store. When you go to buy your clothes, when you go to buy your cleaning products. Instead of having interaction with another human being, these might be the folks that you start having interaction with. The stewardess on the airlines may stop being human women and start being robots. And we're supposed to believe that all of this wasn't planned out. That all of this is just brand new. Or that all of this is just coincidental. Or that all of this just happens to be happening at the same time. Time for us to wake up. Time for us to get busy. This is the reason why Jason Black was talking about doing that broadcast about IT. Foundation of Black Americans. You got kids that you talking about sending to college to get degrees, literary degrees, and all kind of liberal arts degrees and all kind of foolishness like that. No, you better be sending them somewhere so they can learn about IT and so they can learn about AI. Beware of the machines. So I just wanted to bring y'all this. You know, like I said, no, this is not what I had planned for part 2, but it's all relative. It all relates. You understand what I'm saying? You can always bring it right back. All roads lead right back to white supremacy. Not as an individual, not even as a group of individuals, but as a system. As a power structure. That's why it has been able to exist for so long. It's because it is a power structure and it is global. And because folks try to break it down to one or two individuals or one or two groups, the Klan, the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, or whatever. Or Richard Spencer, or Jared Taylor, or David Duke. You know, you try to break it down to one or two people. No. It is a global system. And yes, that system is run by people. You understand what I'm saying? But it's not the people that we ever have any interaction with. Most of the people that we actually see, most of the people that we actually hear from are just puppets. Puppets. But this is what is really going on behind the scenes. Because, you know, by the time we find out about what's going on, by the time mainstream media or any media outlet gets it and finally reports it, it's basically pretty much already done. They probably already have some warehouses somewhere full of these things. I would also suggest that you go back and watch the movie I, Robots. But this is what I wanted to bring y'all. And like I said, I have some of this, all of this stuff, all of this information will be listed in the description box. You can go read this stuff for yourself. Please, when you go to Reuters to read this article on Sophie the robot, please make sure you carefully listen to the video that's attached to it. I didn't want to play it because, copyright and they trying to do all kinds of stuff, and they trying to censor all kinds of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm trying to protect the channel as much as I can so that I can keep coming to you sharing this information with you. But make sure that when you go to the video and the article, that you listen to the video. And again, as I said, this David Hansen man, this man that runs this lab in Hong Kong and created this Sophie the robot, watch his actions. Watch his movements. And tell me that something just ain't quite right there. It's just not quite, it don't fit. Okay? It don't fit. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, that's it for tonight. We will continue this. We will definitely continue this. But please, we have got to we can't get distracted by all of this stuff. By all of this political theater, by all of this symbolic mess that Trump is doing. I mean, not Trump, that Biden is doing, and all that. We can't get distracted about this, because the real stuff is not happening in front of us. The real stuff is happening behind the scenes. And there are people that have warned us that this was coming. Now, we know automation is coming. We see Walmart. There used to be a time when you would walk in Walmart and there was just about every register was open with a human being standing behind it. Now you walk in Walmart, you might have 1 or 2 registers being run by human beings. The rest of them are all self-checkouts. Same thing with Lowe's Home Improvement now. I work at Dollar General, y'all. One of the smallest retail chains in America. We don't have but 3 registers in the whole store. And y'all know what? They took one of those registers out and replaced it with a self-checkout. So if we don't wake up and get a move on, you understand what I'm saying? And start doing some building and start getting serious about building our economy. And start getting serious about building for ourselves. And start getting serious about getting back into that mindset that we had before integration, where we had our own. We had our own everything. We had our own buses. We had our own cab companies. We had our own manufacturing. We had our own broom companies. We had our own retail stores. We had our own clubs, our own theaters, our own restaurants, our own hotels. And yes, white supremacy destroyed a lot of that with the destruction of the different Black Wall Street cities that we had, because we had several. But they didn't destroy all of them. We were still thriving and still doing for ourselves and taking care of our own in the 50s and the 60s before integration. That same mindset that black folks had during the Montgomery bus boycotts, where they were determined that if they had to walk, I mean, they said, it lasted for over a year. And a lot of the women and men walked out of their shoes because they were determined that they were not going to get on those buses. So if they couldn't carpool, and all of them didn't have cars, so it wasn't possible for all of them to carpool, they walked until these people walked out of their shoes. But we done got so used to the plantation trinkets and being able to party and celebrate on the plantation and not have to worry about anything, cause white mommy and white daddy taking care of everything for us. The government taking care of us. We can sit at home and wait for a government check. And some food stamps. And some Section 8. And the whole time, they planning to make us completely obsolete. And understand, no, this is not just for Black Americans. This is not just for foundational Black Americans. Actually, it's for people, period. But they're going to start with us, like they always start with us. But we sitting around twerking on the Capitol. We sitting around doing wet pussy challenges. We sitting around, everything is a celebration. Everything is a cookout. We sitting around going to fish fries and going to eat collard greens and pinto and black-eyed peas and cornbread. And this is what they planning behind the scenes. You just heard what they said about the relationship between human and robot. Let me get to that again. Social robotics professor Johan Horn, whose research has included work with Sophie, said that although the technology is still in relative infancy, the pandemic could accelerate a relationship between humans and robots. And what if one day that relationship produces a mix of human and robot? It's time for the plantation games to be over now. Because they're not talking about putting you back on the plantation. They're talking about getting rid of you for good this time. This time it's about getting rid of you for good. Slavery didn't work. Jim Crow didn't work. Black codes didn't work. Mass incarceration didn't work. Police brutality and police murder ain't working. They gonna figure out some kind of way to get rid of you and get rid of you for good if you don't be careful. Keep on. Next thing you know, you're gonna have robots running up in your house. If they can be programmed to recognize who is and who ain't wearing a mask, what else can they be programmed to recognize? Alright, y'all, I'm going to stop preaching, but that's it for tonight. I'll be back hopefully sometime tomorrow. But like I said, get in that description box. Make sure that you read these articles. Make sure that you know what's going on. Please make sure that because like I said, I'll have the trailer for Butt Breaking in the description box. I'll have Jason Black's a broadcast that he did about this symbolism and this ego stroking and all of that. And I'll also have the program that Tariq did about transhumanism. Okay? Do some reading up on transhumanism. Do some reading up on who's big on transhumanism, who's involved in it, and all of that. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. But y'all please like this video. Please share the video. As I say, please have these conversations on outside of social media as well as on social media. Have these conversations with family, with friends, with your co-workers. Keep people informed. Let people know what's going on. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to the channel. But yeah, y'all get down in that description box and be aware. Be like I said, being conscious. We talked about this. Being conscious, is about more than just being woke. It's about being woke and aware. So let's stay woke and let's stay aware and let's stay on code. All right, y'all have a good night.